My husband hid $7 million in a secret offshore account while telling me we were broke. But what he didn't know was that I'd been tracking every penny for 6 months. My name is Elena, and for 12 years, I thought I had the perfect marriage. My husband, Derek, was a commercial real estate developer, successful, charming, the kind of man who always knew exactly what to say to make you feel safe. We lived in a beautiful home in the suburbs, nothing extravagant but comfortable. Derek always said he believed in living modestly, saving for the future. And I respected that. I admired it, actually. While my friends married men who threw money around like confetti, Derek was careful, responsible, or so I thought. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday morning in March. I remember because it was our anniversary, 12 years. I'd planned a small celebration, nothing fancy, just dinner at home, his favourite meal, maybe a nice bottle of wine. I went to transfer some money from our joint savings account to buy the ingredients. That's when I noticed something strange. The balance was lower than I expected, much lower. I called Derek at work. "Honey," I said, keeping my voice light, "did you move money out of savings?" There was a pause, just a half second too long. "Oh, yeah," he said finally. "I had to cover some unexpected business expenses. Nothing to worry about." "How much?" "Just $15,000. It's temporary. I'll put it back next month." $15,000. And he hadn't mentioned it, but I pushed the concern away. We were married. We trusted each other. These things happen. Except next month came and the money didn't come back. Instead, more money disappeared. Another $12,000. When I asked about it, Derek sighed like I was being unreasonable. "Eleanor, you know business has been slow. The market's tough right now. I'm juggling a lot of expenses. But you said last month it was temporary." "It is temporary. Jesus, can you just trust me? I'm handling it." The way he said it made me feel small, like I was being paranoid, controlling, so I backed off. That was my first mistake. Over the next 2 months, I watched our savings drain away. 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. Every time I brought it up, Derek had an explanation. A delayed payment from a client, unexpected permits, legal fees. "We're fine," he kept saying. "Stop worrying so much." But I noticed other things too. Derek started coming home later. He was on his phone constantly, stepping out to take calls. When I walked into the room, he'd quickly close his laptop. "Work stuff," he'd say. "Boring." Then came the day that changed everything. I needed to print something for a volunteer project I was working on. My printer was out of ink, so I used Derek's office computer. As I was printing, I noticed a folder on his desktop labeled DLT Holdings. I'd never heard of DLT Holdings, and I knew all of Derek's business entities. My hand hovered over the mouse. I shouldn't look. That would be invading his privacy. But something in my gut twisted. Something felt wrong. I clicked. Inside were dozens of bank statements, accounts I'd never seen before, and the numbers made my vision blur. $3 million in one account, $2.5 million in another account with $1.8 million. My husband, the man who'd been telling me we needed to be careful with money, had $7 million hidden in accounts I knew nothing about. $7 million. I sat there staring at the screen, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But it was. The statements showed regular transfers. Money moving from our legitimate business accounts into these hidden ones. Money that should have been ours, our families, being siphoned away like he was preparing for something or preparing to leave. That's when I heard the garage door opening. Derek was home early. I quickly closed the files, printed my document, and walked out of his office on shaking legs. "Hey, babe," Derek called from the kitchen. His voice was so normal, so casual, like he wasn't hiding millions of dollars from his wife. "Hey," I managed. My voice sounded strange even to my own ears. He walked over and kissed my forehead. "You okay? You look pale." "Just a headache," I lied. "Want me to grab you some Advil?" Such a caring husband. Such a good man. Such a goddamn liar. That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to him breathe. This man I'd slept next to for 12 years. This man I'd trusted with everything. Who was he? What else had he lied about? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? I didn't confront Derek. Not yet, because I realized something important. If I accused him without proof, without a plan, he'd just deny everything. He'd make me feel crazy. He'd already been doing that for months. No, I needed to be smart about this. I needed to understand exactly what he was doing before I made my move. So I started documenting everything. I created a hidden folder on my own laptop. Every time Derek left the house, I'd go into his office and photograph documents, bank statements, transfer receipts, emails. I found communication with an offshore banking consultant, messages about asset protection and discretionary trusts. He was preparing to hide everything from me, from the government, from anyone who might come looking. But why? The answer came 2 weeks later. I was having coffee with my friend Sandra when she mentioned something casually. "Hey, didn't Derek's company bid on that waterfront development project?" "I don't know," I said. "He doesn't really talk about specific projects with me?" Sandra looked surprised. "Really? Because my husband's company bid too, and he said Derek's proposal was 30% lower than everyone else's. He's almost guaranteed to win. That project's worth like $20 million in profit. $20 million, and Derek hadn't mentioned a word to me." That night, I went through his files again, and there it was, the contract, the projections. Derek was about to land the biggest deal of his career, and he'd been hiding it from me. Because he was planning to leave. All the pieces fell into place. The hidden money, the secret accounts, the offshore structures. He was preparing to divorce me and walk away with everything while claiming he had nothing. I felt sick. Actually, physically sick. I barely made it to the bathroom before I threw up. How long had he been planning this? Months? Years? Had our entire marriage been a lie? But then something shifted inside me. The nausea turned to something else. Something cold and sharp. If Derek thought he was going to screw me over, he was wrong. Dead wrong. I called my old college friend Marcus. He was a forensic accountant who specialized in complex financial investigations. I'd helped him study for his CPA exam back in the day, and we'd stayed in touch. "Elena," he said when he answered, "it's been ages. What's up?" "Marcus, I need your help, and I need you to keep this completely confidential." I told him everything, showed him the documents I'd gathered, watched his expression grow darker as he reviewed the files. "Jesus, Elena," he said finally, "your husband's built a pretty sophisticated structure here. These offshore accounts, the shell companies. He's been planning this for at least 2 years. 2 years, while I was planning anniversary dinners and thinking about our future, he was planning his escape. Can we trace it?" I asked. "Can we prove this is marital property?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Yeah, it'll take work, but yeah, the money came from his business, which was built during your marriage with your support. Under state law, that's community property. All of it. What do I need to do? First, we need to get ahead of him. If he files for divorce first and claims these assets don't exist, it becomes a he said, she said. But if you file first with full documentation of what he's hidden, you control the narrative. But I don't want to file for divorce, I said. The words came out before I could stop them. Marcus gave me a sympathetic look. Elena, I know this is hard, but a man who does this, who hides millions from his wife while telling her they need to be careful with money, that's not someone who's planning to stay married. He was right. I knew he was right. But accepting it still felt like a knife in my chest. Over the next month, I became someone I didn't recognize. Every day I'd smile at Derek over breakfast, ask him about his day, kiss him goodbye like nothing was wrong. And every day I'd gather more evidence. I found emails to a divorce attorney dated 3 months ago, discussing strategies for minimizing spousal support obligations. I found a lease agreement for a luxury condo downtown, in his name only, starting next month. I found receipts for jewelry I'd never seen, expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together, hotel rooms. There was someone else. Of course there was someone else. I cried exactly once, locked in my car in a parking lot, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. Then I wiped my face, fixed my makeup, and got back to work. Derek had been planning this for years, but I was going to dismantle his entire plan in weeks. Marcus helped me open my own accounts. We transferred what money I could access legally into them. I gathered 12 years of financial records, tax returns, business documents, everything. I hired the best divorce attorney in the state. Her name was Catherine Walsh, and she had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless. When I showed her what I'd found, she smiled. Actually smiled. Your husband, she said, is an idiot. A sophisticated idiot, but an idiot nonetheless. He built this whole structure, documented everything digitally, and left it all on a computer in his home office. It's like he wanted to get caught. So we can win? Elena, we're not going to win. We're going to destroy him. I should have felt good about that. Instead, I just felt tired, sad. How had we gotten here? How had the man I loved turned into someone I needed to destroy? But then I'd remember the lies, the manipulation, the way he'd made me feel crazy for questioning him, the way he'd planned to abandon me with nothing while he sailed off into the sunset with millions. And the sadness would harden back into resolve. Derek wanted a war. He was about to get one. It was May when everything went quiet. Derek became distant in a new way, not just busy or distracted, but absent, like he was already gone even though he was still living in our house. He stopped asking me about my day, stopped making plans for the weekend. When I spoke, he'd make this tiny face like my voice was an irritation. One night, I made his favorite dinner, coq au vin. It took 3 hours. I set the table with candles, poured wine, tried to create a moment where we could just be us again. He ate quickly, barely tasting it, checked his phone 5 times during the meal. This is nice, I said, hating how desperate I sounded. He didn't even look up. Derek, can we talk? Really talk? He sighed, actually sighed, like I was asking for something unreasonable. What? About what? About us, about where we are. I feel like we're drifting apart. Elena, I'm just stressed. About work? Can we not do this right now? When then? When can we do this? He stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. I don't know. Later, I have calls to make. And he left, walked out of the room while I sat there at our dining table, candles burning, feeling completely invisible. That was when I realized it was really over. Not because of the money or the lies, but because of this absence, this erasure. He'd already left me emotionally. The physical leaving would just be a formality. I should have felt empowered by all the evidence I'd gathered, by the plan Catherine and I had built. But instead, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left just a shell. 12 years. I'd given him 12 years and he was throwing it away like it meant nothing. I started having trouble sleeping. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd missed the signs earlier. Had he ever really loved me? Or had I always been just a convenience? Someone to maintain his home and his image while he built his secret empire? My friends noticed. "You look tired," Sandra said over lunch. "Is everything okay?" "Fine," I lied. "Just busy." But I wasn't fine. I was drowning. And the worst part was that I couldn't tell anyone. Not really. Because the moment I did, the moment I said it out loud, it would become real in a way I wasn't ready for. So I existed in this strange limbo, knowing my marriage was over but still living in it, preparing for war while playing house. Derek announced he was going on a business trip, 2 weeks in Singapore to meet with potential investors. "Okay," I said numbly. "You don't mind?" He actually looked surprised. "Why would I mind?" I wanted to say. "You're already gone. This is just geography." "Of course not," I said instead. "Do what you need to do." He left on a Monday. The house felt bigger without him, emptier. I wandered through the rooms, looking at all the things we'd collected together, furniture, art photos from trips we'd taken. Had any of it been real? I picked up a photo from our wedding day. We looked so happy, so young. I tried to see the lie in Derek's eyes, but I couldn't. He looked at me like I was everything. What changed? When did I stop being enough? Or worse, had I ever been enough to begin with? That night, I got a notification on my phone. It was from a credit card monitoring app I'd set up. A charge had just gone through on one of Derek's cards, $8,000 at Tiffany & Kobe in Singapore, $8,000 on jewelry while he was supposedly on a business trip, while he'd been telling me we needed to be careful with money. I sat on the couch, phone in my hand, staring at that notification, and something inside me finally snapped, not with anger, with clarity. I'd been mourning the loss of my marriage, grieving what we'd had, what I thought we'd had. But that was stupid. You can't lose something you never really possessed. Derek had checked out of our marriage a long time ago, maybe years ago. I'd just been too naive, too trusting, too in love to see it. But I saw it now, and I was done grieving. I opened my laptop and sent an email to Catherine Walsh. "I'm ready. Let's file." Derek came home from Singapore on a Thursday. He walked in carrying his suitcase, looking tanned and relaxed. "Hey," he said casually, "how have you been?" "Good," I replied. My voice was steady, calm. "How was your trip?" "Productive, closed some deals, made some connections." He smiled, and it was the same charming smile he'd always had. The one that used to make my heart flutter. Now it just made me cold. "That's great," I said. "I'm glad it went well." He looked at me for a moment, like he was trying to figure out if something was different, but he shrugged it off and headed upstairs to unpack. The next morning, Friday, Derek left for his office at 8 a.m. like always. He kissed my cheek on his way out. A habit. Nothing more. "See you tonight," he said. "Yeah," I replied. "See you." But he wouldn't, because at 9 a.m. a process server was going to walk into his office and hand him divorce papers. Papers that documented every single account he'd hidden, every transfer he'd made, every lie he'd told. At 9:15, my phone rang. Derek. I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again, 6 times in 10 minutes. Then the texts started. "What the fuck is this? You had me served at work? Are you kidding me? Call me now. Elena, I swear to God, call me back." I blocked his number. At 10 a.m., I met Catherine at her office. She was smiling when I walked in. "Your husband's attorney just called," she said. 3 times. He's panicking. "Good. He wants to negotiate." "No." Catherine's smile widened. "That's what I told him. I said we're not interested in negotiation. We're interested in full disclosure and equitable distribution of all marital assets, including the $7 million in hidden accounts." What did he say? He sputtered a lot, asked how we knew about those accounts. I told him that was irrelevant. The question is why his client was hiding community property from his spouse. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Derek had gotten a new way to reach me. "Elena, please, can we just talk? Face to face? This is insane." I showed the text to Catherine. She shook her head. "Don't respond. Let him sweat." But Derek didn't just sweat. He showed up at the house at 2 p.m. I heard his car in the driveway, heard his key in the lock. I'd been expecting this. I was sitting in the living room when he burst in. "Elena, what the hell?" His face was red, his eyes wild. "You're divorcing me? Without even talking to me about it? Like you were going to talk to me about it." I kept my voice level, like before you served me, before you walked away with everything. He froze just for a second, but I saw it. The flicker of guilt, of being caught. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice was weak. $7 million, Derek, in offshore accounts, shell companies, DLT Holdings, Singapore Financial Trust. Should I keep going? His face went pale. How did I find out? Like I stood up. "You left everything on your computer. The computer in your home office, in our house. Did you really think I wouldn't notice all the lies? The money disappearing, the late nights, the secret apartment downtown? There's no apartment 1247 Harborview, Unit 34RGO2. Lease starts June 1st. $2,400 a month. Want me to tell you what else I know?" Derek sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. "Elena, please, just listen." "No, you listen." I sat down across from him. "For 12 years, I trusted you. I believed in you. I supported your business, your dreams, your goals. And while I was doing that, you were stealing from me, from us, building a secret empire so you could leave me with nothing. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Explain why you hid millions of dollars. Explain why you told me we needed to be careful with money while you were buying $8,000 jewelry in Singapore. Explain the emails to divorce attorneys 3 months ago. Explain all of it." He couldn't. He just sat there, opening and closing his mouth like a fish. "You know what the worst part is?" I continued. "It's not the money. It's not even the lying. It's the way you made me feel. Like I was crazy for questioning you. Like I was being unreasonable for worrying about our finances. You gaslit me, Derek, for months, maybe years. You made me doubt my own sanity. I never meant, I don't care what you meant. I care what you did. And what you did was unforgivable. Derek looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. So what happens now? Now? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Now you get to experience what it feels like to have your life torn apart. Every account you hid, we're going after. Every asset you thought you'd protected, we're going to expose. And when we're done, you're going to give me exactly half of everything, not the half you wanted me to have, the real half. Elena, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. I could have you arrested for fraud, for tax evasion. Catherine says we have enough evidence to send you to prison, but I'm not doing that. I'm just asking for what's legally mine. 50% of the marital assets. That's reasonable. That'll ruin me, he whispered. No, I said coldly. That'll leave you with $3.5 million plus your business, plus your earning potential. You'll be fine. You just won't be as rich as you'd planned to be when you fucked me over. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. And good, because I didn't recognize him either. Maybe we were both strangers now. You need to leave, I said. This is my house now. You can stay at your expensive apartment downtown, the one you were going to move into anyway. Elena, get out, Derek, now, or I call the police and tell them you're trespassing. He stood slowly, looked around the room like he was seeing it for the first time or the last time. I never wanted to hurt you, he said quietly, but you did. You just didn't want to deal with the consequences. Well, guess what? You don't get that choice. He left, walked out the door and got in his car and drove away. And I stood at the window, watching him go, feeling absolutely nothing. That was when I knew I'd won. Not because I was getting money, but because he no longer had any power over me. No power to hurt me. No power to make me doubt myself. I was free. The divorce took 7 months. 7 months of lawyers and depositions and court appearances. Derek fought it at first, tried to claim those accounts were business assets, not marital property. His attorney argued, blustered, threw around legal terms. Catherine demolished every single argument. Your Honor, she said during one hearing, Mr. Richardson built these accounts using funds from a business established during the marriage. He used marital time, marital resources, and joint business contacts. There is no legal distinction between these accounts and the house they lived in or the car in their garage. This is community property, plain and simple. The judge agreed, ordered full disclosure of all assets, ordered forensic accounting. And when Derek's attorney tried to delay, the judge sanctioned him. Mr. Richardson, the judge said, her voice sharp, has had ample opportunity to disclose these assets voluntarily. He chose instead to hide them from his spouse and from this court. This behavior will not be rewarded. Derek's face, when she said that, I'll never forget it. Pure rage and humiliation. He glared at me across the courtroom like I was the villain in this story. Let him think that. I didn't care anymore. But the real turning point came when we discovered something even Catherine hadn't expected. While digging through Derek's financial records, Marcus found irregularities in the business accounts, money that didn't match up, invoices. That looked suspicious. Elena, he said one day, his voice careful, I think your husband might have been committing fraud, real fraud, against his business partners and clients. My stomach dropped. What kind of fraud? Inflating expenses, billing for work that was never done, creating fake subcontractor invoices, and pocketing the difference. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars over several years. Catherine called an emergency meeting. "This changes everything," she said. "If we report this, Derek could face criminal charges, prison time." "What do you think I should do?" I asked. She looked at me seriously. "That depends. Do you want revenge? Or do you want your settlement?" It was a fair question. Part of me, the angry, hurt part, wanted to see Derek suffer. Wanted him to lose everything the way I'd lost my trust, my marriage, my sense of security. But another part of me, the part that was tired and just wanted this over with, knew that revenge would only drag this out longer, make it messier, hurt me more in the process. "I want my settlement," I said finally. "I want what I'm owed, and I want him out of my life." Catherine nodded. "Then we use this as leverage." She called Derek's attorney, had a conversation that lasted exactly 8 minutes. When she hung up, she was smiling. "They're ready to settle. Full terms. He gives you half of everything, including the hidden accounts. In exchange, we don't report the fraud to the authorities or his business partners." And he agrees to that? He doesn't have a choice. If this fraud comes out, he loses everything. His business, his reputation, his freedom. Half of something is better than all of nothing. The settlement was signed 2 weeks later. I got $3.5 million in liquid assets, plus the house, plus half of Derek's legitimate business interests. He kept the other half of the money and the business. On paper, we both walked away with roughly equal assets. In reality, I walked away with my dignity and my future. Derek walked away knowing I could destroy him at any moment if I chose to. That knowledge, that power, was worth more than any amount of money. The day the divorce was finalized, I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party or pop champagne. I just sat in my house now, and breathed. It was over. I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago, trusting, naive, making Derek's favorite dinner and wondering why he seemed distant. That woman felt like a stranger now. I'd changed, hardened maybe, but also strengthened. I discovered I was capable of things I never knew I could do. Strategic thinking, emotional discipline, ruthlessness when necessary. Derek had tried to destroy me. Instead, he'd forged me into someone much stronger. A few weeks after the divorce was final, I ran into Sandra at a coffee shop. She hugged me tight. "How are you doing?" she asked. "Really?" "I'm okay," I said, and I meant it. Better than okay, actually. I heard about the settlement, that Derek had to give up millions. Word had gotten around. Of course it had. Derek's business partners knew. His friends knew. Everyone knew he'd tried to screw over his wife and gotten caught. "He made his choices," I said simply. Sandra shook her head. "I still can't believe it. He seemed so devoted to you." "So did I." That's the thing about liars. Like they're very good at seeming. And we talked for a while longer, but my mind was elsewhere, on the future, on what came next. I'd spent 12 years building a life with someone who was building an exit strategy. Now I had a chance to build something just for me, something that couldn't be taken away, something real. It was terrifying and exciting and entirely mine. A month later, I was cleaning out the guest room when I found a box of old photos. Pictures from our wedding, our honeymoon, Christmases and birthdays and ordinary Sunday afternoons. I looked through them slowly, trying to see the truth behind the smiles. Had Derek been planning this even then? Or had something changed along the way? Had he loved me once and fallen out of love? Or had it always been a performance? I'd never know, and I'd had to accept that. Some questions don't have answers. Some betrayals don't have explanations that make sense. All I could do was learn from it, become someone who trusted her instincts, who didn't ignore red flags, who valued herself enough to walk away when walking away was necessary. I put the photos back in the box and carried it down to the basement. I didn't throw them away. They were still part of my history, but they weren't my present. And they definitely weren't my future. It's been 2 years since my divorce was finalized. 2 years since I discovered my husband had hidden millions of dollars and planned to leave me with nothing. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I'd tried to work things out, if I think I was too harsh. And my answer is always the same: no, not for a second. Derek made his choices. He chose to lie, to steal, to build a secret empire while making me feel crazy for questioning him. Those were his choices, and they had consequences. I chose to protect myself, to fight for what was mine, to refuse to be a victim of his manipulation. Those were my choices, and I'd make them again in a heartbeat. The money changed my life. I won't lie about that. It gave me security, freedom, options I didn't have before. But the real change wasn't financial. It was internal. I learned I was stronger than I thought, smarter than I gave myself credit for, capable of fighting back when fighting back was necessary. Derek wanted me to be small, quiet, grateful for whatever scraps he chose to give me. Instead, I became someone who knows her worth, who won't settle, who won't be manipulated, and that's worth more than $7 million. I still live in the house. I redecorated, changed everything that reminded me of him. It's mine now, really mine. I started a consulting business helping women navigate financial independence. Turns out, my experience makes me pretty good at spotting financial red flags and helping people protect themselves. I date sometimes, carefully, with my eyes open. I don't trust as easily as I used to. Maybe that's sad, or maybe it's smart. I haven't spoken to Derek since the final settlement. I blocked his number, his email, all of it. Catherine handles anything legal that still needs handling. I heard through the grapevine that his business never fully recovered, that his partners lost trust in him, that his reputation took a hit he couldn't bounce back from. I feel nothing about that. Not satisfaction, not guilt, nothing. He's just a person I used to know who made terrible choices. And I'm a person who refused to let those choices destroy me. If you're going through something similar, if you're with someone who's lying to you, hiding money, making you feel crazy, trust your instincts, document everything, get professional help, and don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. You deserve better than betrayal disguised as love. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It really does help other people find videos like this. And if you want to hear more stories about people who refused to be victims, who fought back and won, subscribe to this channel. I share new stories every week, and drop a comment below. Have you ever discovered a partner was hiding money? How did you handle it? I read every single comment, and your stories matter. Remember, you're stronger than you think. smarter than anyone who tries to manipulate you believes. And you deserve honesty, respect, and partnership. Don't settle for anything less. Thank you for watching, and remember, trust yourself.